Princess Neha of the Zephyrian Empire studied the human diplomat across the crystalline conference table with barely concealed disdain. The creature was smaller than she had expected, perhaps 6 feet tall compared to her own. Imposing 8-foot frame with unremarkable brown skin and dark hair that seemed to absorb the ethereal blue light of her palace chambers. "So you are the human they sent to negotiate our surrender," she said, her voice carrying the melodic tones that had made her species renowned throughout the galaxy for their beauty. Her forearms gestured dismissively, the bioluminescent patterns along her skin pulsing with amusement. Adnan Malik, Earth's youngest diplomatic attaché, straightened in his chair and met her gaze without flinching. "With respect, Your Highness, I'm here to negotiate a peaceful resolution to this conflict, not anyone's surrender." Neha's laugh was like silver bells in a windstorm. "Peaceful resolution? Your pathetic species has been at war with the Galactic Coalition for 3 cycles. Your primitive ships are outgunned 10 to 1. Your worlds are blockaded. What could you possibly offer that would interest the daughter of Emperor Zefkar the Eternal?" The human's expression remained calm, though Neha detected the slight tightening around his eyes that she had learned to recognize as determination in the strange 2-armed species. "Information, Your Highness, about the real threat to your empire." Before Neha could respond, the palace shuddered violently. Emergency alarms began wailing in harmonious discord as her personal guard burst through the chamber doors. "Your Highness," Captain Veltar's normally steady voice cracked with panic. "The Void Devourers. They've broken through the outer rim defenses. They're heading directly for the capital." Neha's blood ran cold. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin flickered from blue to deep purple, a sign of fear that she quickly suppressed. The Void Devourers were a legend, a nightmare from the dark corners of space that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty vacuum in their wake. "Impossible," she whispered. "They were sealed away millennia ago." Adnan stood slowly, his movements deliberate and controlled. "No, Your Highness. They were contained by a species that your coalition thought too primitive to matter." The palace shuddered again, more violently this time. Through the massive windows, Neha could see the elegant spires of her city beginning to dim as power was diverted to the defensive shields. "Explain yourself, human," Neha commanded, though her voice lacked its earlier arrogance. "Humanity discovered the Void Devourers 300 years ago, during our first attempts at faster-than-light travel," Adnan said, his tone remaining respectful but urgent. "We lost 17 colonies before we figured out how to fight them. Not with superior weapons or technology, we didn't have those. We fought them with something your coalition seems to have forgotten, which is sacrifice." Another tremor shook the palace, and this time the lights flickered. Neha's 4 hands clenched into fists as reports flooded in through her neural implant. Outer cities going dark. Entire fleets disappearing into the writhing darkness that was consuming her empire from the edges inward. "The Devourers feed on energy," Adnan continued, moving to the window where dark tendrils were visible against the stars. "All energy. Life force, stellar radiation, even the quantum foam itself. The more advanced a civilization, the more energy it produces and the faster they consume it." "Then we're doomed," Neha said, her royal composure finally cracking. "Not if you listen to me." Adnan turned from the window, and Neha was startled to see no fear in his brown eyes, only resolve. "My ship is equipped with a quantum resonance bomb. It won't destroy the Devourers, but it will create a feedback loop in their consumption matrix. The explosion will force them back into dormancy for another 1,000 years. Then activate it." "I can't. It has to be detonated from inside their primary mass. It's a one-way trip." The room fell silent except for the distant alarms. Neha stared at this small, fragile human who was calmly discussing his own death as if it were a minor inconvenience. "You would die for a species that was preparing to conquer yours?" she asked quietly. Adnan smiled, and for the first time Neha saw the steel beneath his diplomatic exterior. "Your Highness, humans have a saying, evil triumphs when good people do nothing. The Devourers aren't just your enemy or mine, they're the enemy of all life in this galaxy. Sometimes doing what's right matters more than who started the fight." Princess Neha had lived for 3 centuries. She had seen the rise and fall of a dozen civilizations, witnessed the birth of stars and the collapse of empires. But she had never seen anything like the quiet courage radiating from this unremarkable human diplomat. "Captain Veltar," she commanded, "prepare an escort for Ambassador Malik." Full military honors. Your Highness? The captain looked confused. This human is about to save our empire. The least we can do is ensure he reaches his destination. As Adnan prepared to leave, Neha placed one of her 4 hands on his shoulder. What you're about to do, your species will remember you as a hero. Adnan shook his head. My species will never know what happened here, Your Highness. That's not why I'm doing this. Then why? Because someone has to. And sometimes being human means being the one who stands up when everyone else sits down. 2 hours later, Princess Neha watched from her palace as a small human ship disappeared into the writhing darkness that had consumed half her star system. The explosion, when it came, was barely visible, a brief flicker of light against the cosmic horror of the void devourers. But it was enough. As the darkness retreated and the stars began to shine again, Neha understood why her father's intelligence reports had been wrong about humanity. They had measured human ships, human weapons, human technology, all the things that could be quantified and catalogued. They had never thought to measure the human heart. And that, Princess Neha realized as she began composing the treaty that would make humanity equal partners in the Galactic Coalition, had been their greatest mistake.